What up, guys? Today we're going to be reviewing episode 10 of Dragon Ball Daima, and we're going to be going through what happened in this episode. There was quite a bit of interesting lore that we got in this episode. Also, we got to see more of Majin Buu and what he was capable of, and kind of his personality. If I'm being honest, he is a complete fraud. I know a lot of you guys probably have been seeing other people's videos talking about him being a fraud, and that is true. For one, he hasn't shown any cool abilities. His design is ass already. And then his powers set, it seems very basic. He's just doing basic energy attacks. I don't even think he has the abilities of like Kid Buu or any of the Boos where they can stretch their body or like, regenerate or do all these crazy things with their body. He seemed like he was a regular solid being. He didn't seem anything special. And he did fight against one of the Tamagamis, and that's where we saw more of his power and even his personality. And I'll get into him as I explained in this video what happened in the episode. Now, this episode as a whole, it's kind of weird because on one half, I feel like there wasn't that much stuff happening. And on the other half, I feel like there was a decent amount of stuff. Like we saw him fight, we saw a little bit of the characters doing their stuff. We got a bit of an explanation. We got to the original Namek in the demon realm before the Namekians left. And we're gonna be moving on forward. And they were kind of hinting at maybe they might be going to Supreme Kai's planet, but they said maybe not. So yeah, there were some stuff mainly towards the ending, which they did the same thing in the last episode. And I kind of see this as a little bit of a trend now with them, where most of the episode there is just kind of like fillerish, parts where nothing really serious is happening and it's pointless. And then there's some good stuff here and there. But then towards the end, that's when like they start to do quite a bit of stuff in the episode and give us quite a bit of lore and information and world building, which I love that. But I wish that would be more throughout the entire episode instead of just the ending of the episode, because I feel like most of the episode is just wasted time doing nothing. Even at this point, which this is episode 10, meaning that we're at the halfway point of this show, because there's only 20 episodes. And yes, they are moving to the second demon world, and we're already going to fight the second Tamagami. And we already saw the first Tamagami and what he was doing, fighting against Majin Buu at least. But I feel like it's still slow. I felt like they could have condensed the show a lot more. We didn't need 20 episodes. Obviously, for me personally, I love Dragon Ball and I love shows that have more episodes. I don't really like to watch shows that only have like 12 episodes. I like longer shows, but if you're gonna make them longer, make them at least enjoyable. I don't want to just be longer, just be longer. And that's what I kind of feel like is gonna happen. What is happening with this show? And I already talked about in my last video and review about how a lot of the viewership is down and low, and a lot of fans are not really messing with the show. And I can't blame them because they keep on doing shit like this. There's good things about this show. Obviously, the animation, the art style is really good. The lore and the world building is very good. I love that. The story is actually enjoyable. At least they have a grounded story where like a direction that they're going. But the problem for me with this story is there's a lot of pointless stuff and there's a lot of boring things that are not necessary in it, and that's where it really hinders it. And there's just not. I get that there's a point to the story, but there isn't a significant point. If you guys understand what I mean, it's like I get the direction that they're going. They have at least a goal in the story, but I feel like the goal isn't special or spectacular. Anyway, it's not like crazy as I wanted it to be, but that's whatever. So it pretty much starts off with Majin Buu fighting against the first Tamagami. As he's fighting against him, this guy's more skinnier. He has like a sword, and he looks pretty cool. They're fighting back and forth, and he keeps on doing all these different moves. He's actually moving around like an idiot. He's jumping around. He's doing some goofy stuff. Personally, I like that because that's just how Boo's character is, and I just thought it was funny. But I was like, if you're gonna be funny, at least be tough also, because that was a big thing about Boo is he was super powerful, he was dangerous, and he was maniacal, but he was also goofy. So it was like fun. Whereas him, he's just goofy and he's a failure. So he starts to fight him. He's clearly not doing enough damage, and I at that point already could see that he's not gonna win this fight. And I was like, really? They're saying that this is the completed version where he can't even beat the Tamagami one, which yes, they're supposed to be strong, but they're not even stronger than the original Boo, which you would expect that this one to be stronger. Some people are saying that, well, when the other lady, I forgot what her name is, the witch lady said, oh, that one was an incomplete version. They're talking about the lack of control over him, whereas this one he has control, and that's why. but I don't agree with that. I think that is one part of it. They never said that, oh yeah, it was just a control thing. They did mention power too, so I don't know why fans don't understand stuff. And there's something in the ending of this episode that they explained that a lot of people are still also confused about. And there's a lot of things I want to talk about that because that's the most important part. But yeah, he fought him and he pretty much lost. He was getting his ass whooped. He was able to do anything, and then he was like, "I give up, please. I'm sorry," and then runs away. And then Tomigami's like, "Whatever." I thought they would usually just kill him, but I guess it's just like those people that died most likely were being idiots and just were keep on pushing it and ended up getting himself killed instead of just quitting and leaving. But he quits, and then Arisu's like, he's like, "You're fired." Which I was like, usually the villains in Dragon Ball would have just killed them if they failed like that. But she just said, "You're fired," and he's like, "Come on, don't be mean." He's like, "I can sing and dance." I'm like, dude, you're supposed to be a fighter. You're supposed to be a legit threat, and you're talking about singing and shit. The fuck? Like, that made him even more lame. Like, you guys already ruined him with a shitty design and then having him be a mix of a Cyberman. Like, I don't know why they did that. That is the worst decision. The Cyberman mix was not necessary. It just makes him pathetic. Like, it's just dumb. It's so pointless. And then also there's this whole leaks about this other one called Majin Buu or some shit like that, which is looks like a shitty version of the Fat Buu. And somebody's saying that they're gonna have them both fuse to make a stronger version, which that's whatever. But then it's also like, well, that means that they're weak as shit. They had to create two weak ass ones to fuse just to get them powerful, instead of like the original one where he was just really powerful, and if he wanted to get stronger, he would absorb other people. Like, they're just failures. They're just trash. These guys. Like, like I said, I think I forgot which episode that they mentioned that they're bringing Boo back and stuff. I don't like bringing back old villains, but I felt like this time that they did it actually properly compared to like when they did with Frieza or Cell. But even with that, doing it properly, I feel like they dropped the ball with the way they went in this direction, making him trash and goofy and stuff. It's kind of dumb, and it's just like he's a disappointment. A lot of people were hating on him. I said personally, I can see why, because he does look like it looks like a shitty design, obviously. But I was like, for me, what matters more is the character, how they act, and how they move around, like how they're like thinking their plans and stuff, and then their fighting ability. But his fighting ability seems basic. He seems weak. He has more of like control, but he seems like a pussy. So I was like, he's not the Boo that we know. Boo we know is savage. This guy's lame as fuck. Like, he's a whack ass Boo, and I just don't like that. So that I felt like was pathetic. But yeah, they had that, so then they're leaving, and they're like, we're fine, we're gonna leave." Then we have Goku and them trying to get to the new, try to get to fight against Tamagami 1, but they wanna go to Namek first, and then they wanna wait for the rest to come there. But as they're going, they're talking about in their world, in the second, Demon world, there's Krakens, and these Krakens are basically giant sea creatures that are considered to be the size of an island, and they grab the ships and destroy it. And I saw them, I'm like, this is not really that insane. I don't know why they're focusing on them so much. Goku could just blast one and destroy it. Like, this guy can blow up planets. And yeah, he should have been nerfed, but we already saw what he was capable of against Tamagami 3, so clearly he wasn't that nerfed. But apparently they'll consider them as a threat, which I thought was kind of dumb. And they did get their ship destroyed, and Pansy was almost crushed. She was trying to save the Dragon Ball, so they saved it. They went on Namek. Namek looked desolate. It was destroyed. It looked like the original Namek, and they mentioned that, oh, the reason why dynamic in the living world looks the same as the one in the demon world is because they took the same plants from the demon world to the living world, and they recreated the planet just to their liking. And we did have mention of them bringing the plants and stuff, so they did to two worlds there, the first Namek and then the new Namek that they had. But yeah, it was cool to see. It looked basically the same as their old one, but everything looked run out because everybody left. I'm kind of now a little bit confused though about the time placement of when this event happened where they left, because there's something that Piccolo mentions as Bulma was talking to him. Uh, so I'm just wondering, when did they leave? Because because I'll just get into it, but yeah, it's weird. So they're there, they're waiting for them to come, Piccolo and them come. They're like, "Our ship is destroyed. We need yours." And they're like, "Really? When we needed one, you guys won't let us in, but whatever." So, and then they're telling Piccolo, is like, uh, do you miss this and stuff?" He's like, "I don't know." And it's funny because when they were on the ride there, when Bulma and them were on the ride there, Bulma asked him, like, "Oh, so do you miss when you left?" He's like, Kami didn't leave it. It was our father that did. So we know Namekians can live for like at least like hundreds to thousands of years, right? And they said that they left, so if it was his dad's time, then it was must have been more than thousands of years ago, right? But it's like still, they should have left way, way, way longer because the Supreme Kais also left around that time, and the Supreme Kais lived for millions of years. They lived for millions of years, and Shin doesn't even barely remembered it. Yes, Shin what did notice when he left, but he was still a child. Yet they lived millions of years, but Namekians only lived for a few thousands of years. So even if it was Piccolo's father that left, it still wouldn't be that far back in time. So I'm kind of confused on the chronology of that. They need to really give us an exact time, like how many years did they left, because they're saying, oh, they left quite a while, but like Namekians don't live anywhere near as long as the Supreme Kais. And the Supreme Kais, yes, it's not like Shin, because Shin is a younger one, but he's still multiple millions of years old, right? And it's not like Shin left there, it's not like his parent left there and then he did. He left there, but he still left as a child. So a young child Supreme Kai uh would be way older still than a grown ass Namekian. Because a grown ass Namekian only will live like a few thousand years, whereas them they will live for a few millions. So he would have still been pretty old in his kid age compared to like the Namekian. So I don't get that. But there was also a little funny stuff with them where Bone was like touching her skin shit. Oh, I'm so smooth, and you know her whole thing about she doesn't want to get old. I get that. But then she's like, I want to stay as a kid. I'm like, well, what the fuck is wrong with you, Bulma? You're literally a first grader. You want to be a first grader? You want to be the same? You want to be younger than your own son? Like, are you fucking kidding me? You want to be younger than your own son? That shit's a little weird. So she was like, yeah, I want to stay a kid because because my skin is this and that. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? You would rather stay a kid? I get wanting to be younger. Like, let's say if I'm like 40 or 50 and I'm getting a little bit more wrinklier, I would obviously want to be like 20 in my 20s, early 20s. But if I turn into a first grader, I'm like, fuck this. I want to go back to being an adult. I'd rather be an old man than be a little child. It's really weird. I don't know why the fuck she would want that. And then Vegeta's like, hell no, I'm not fucking with none of that shit. I'm not a pedophile. I'm not trying to be with no fucking first grader. Because if she stays that way, he wants to go back. He doesn't want to stay as a child. So if he goes back as an adult, she's gonna be a child. He doesn't want his wife to be a child. He's like, I want you to be born with me. So he's like, nah, we're not doing this shit. And he was just like being weird. He's like, oh, I want you to be my girlfriend. It's like right in front of the guy's husband, and right in front of the girl's husband. And it's funny because I think is probably a lot younger because it would be weird if it's anything else. So most likely he's like a child himself, because you know the demon age and stuff is really weird. Uh, but Vegeta gets pissed off. He's like, "Hell no, you're not gonna have my woman." And it was making me laugh. I was like, "Man, this guy's trying to cut Vegeta right in front of him." I'm like, Vegeta should have killed this guy because first of all, getting cucked is very pathetic, but trying to cut the guy in front of him, like, especially if somebody like Vegeta did shut that shit down saying, I ain't no cuck. I'm no pedophile and I'm no cuck. But I should have felt, I felt like Vegeta should have like threatened him, like, I'm gonna kill you, bro. I'm not gonna fuck with that shit, you know? That's what I would have expected of somebody who talked about my girl like that. I felt like that was a wild thing to say. And then he said even more wild shit. He's like, I guess you want her to be older because she has bigger boobs. And then he's like, no. And he's like, I'm right, aren't I? It's her boobs. And then Pickle's like, he's like, I think he's right. I was laughing. I was like, because usually Vegeta and like Goku and stuff, like the characters in like Dragon Ball, they besides like Krillin and Yamcha are focused on love and stuff like that and like girls and shit. But like people like Tien, Goku, and Vegeta, they were very battle hardened. Yes, Goku and Vegeta got married and stuff, but they don't focus on the relationship like that, you know? They don't care about it. They're still just warriors. They're just like, oh, I'm a father and a husband. But to see him be a little bit horny, it's funny to talk with like wanting liking Bulma for her boobs. It's funny as hell, but it's also like, come on, like it makes sense. He wants his wife to be an adult. It's weird if she's a fucking first grader and he's an adult, or he has to stay as a kid because she wants that. So it's like obvious. But I just thought that was funny. And that's where we got the exchange with Bulma and Piccolo when she's asking him. He's like, no, that was my father. So they come to the Namek, and he's like, yeah, it does give me a good sense of feeling, but he's like, I don't care about it because we left it and it doesn't have any importance and stuff. I thought they were gonna do more on this, like, you know, find something important there, because they could have done something crazy where they're like, yeah, we left the homeworld and obviously it's a dead world at this point. It's been gone for thousands of years or whatever, how much ever time they've been gone. But still, there could have been something cool, like you know how in Dragon Ball Super they said there's the Namekian book of lore or whatever, they could have probably found something ancient there that could have gave a Piccolo, better understanding of his people, or, to increase his own power or something like that, or whatever. So they're talking, and then Bulma finds out, Supreme Kai's name is Nahade. So she's like, "Oh, your name's Nahade? Oh, okay, that's crazy." And then they're like, "Should we go to your home planet? We could go to the Supreme Kai's planet." And he's like, "Nah, there's no point of going there. We left there a long time ago. I don't feel like going there." And then she's like, "What do you mean? Like, why don't you want to see it?" He's like, "It's a long story." And he's like, "You probably don't want to hear it." And then Goku's like, "Yeah, we don't." I'm like, "Dude, shut the fuck up." I like that because it's funny because Goku's just like, I don't care about it, these story stuff. He's like, he's more like focused on the fights. But it's also kind of annoying because I want to know more about the lore. So luckily, Bulma was like, no, tell us. Which I was like, thank you, Bulma. Thank you, because I really do want to find out more. I don't want to be like skipping or glossing over it. So he tells us, he's like, apparently, what happened was at that time, the Glentries that created our people and race, there was 5 of them. They basically started dying out. They got destroyed. So all of them were destroyed. So one was like, so that means that you guys are the last of your race, and that once you guys die out, your entire race is gonna be extinct. And he's like, yeah. So that's crazy because I heard people saying that there's a lot of parallels between Supreme Kai's journey and Goku's journey, with like leaving his homeworld, being attacked and destroyed, having a second name, having to make a new name there. The only difference is he knew about his past, whereas Goku didn't. But now this also adds more to it because the Saiyans are the same. They're an extinct race. There's only a handful of them, and yes, they can breed with humans and other races. But while they breed with them, they're losing more and more of their Saiyan traits. So they're a little further down their line of family line, they're going to have less and less Saiyan blood into them, to the point where there's not going to be any more Saiyan blood. So they're going to die out through breeding. Whereas Supreme Kai, his situation is different, where the Kais, they they don't breed. They don't have any genders. It is weird that the old Kai is always horny, even though technically he shouldn't be, since he shouldn't have any sexual desires, kind of like Piccolo. Because like Piccolo's people, they reproduce asexually, so they don't have females, they only have males, so they don't have any sexual attraction. So Piccolo can't get sexually attracted. That's why when in the Android Saga or the Cell Saga, when they finished it, and they're talking about Krillin liking Android 18, he was confused. He didn't understand, because he even said, "I don't understand this whole love thing." He understands love in like a family sense or a friendship sense, but he doesn't understand romantic love, because they don't have that in their species, right? And then when he was finding out about Krillin and all this stuff, the liking her is like, gross, that's disgusting. So it made sense, but it doesn't make sense with the old Kai, but that's how they are. They don't unlike the Mechans, where they reproduce asexually, whereas, the Saiyans produce sexually. They cannot reproduce at all. The Glen trees do it. And it says the Glen trees are destroyed. That pretty much means that they're gonna die out. Whereas the Saiyans die out through breeding, and then their genes and their DNA being literally pretty much erased through that. His people's um his people's are going to be wiped out through just purely being extinct. When they all die out, the last Supreme Kai that dies, they die. That also puts more of an importance, and makes it more sad that the rest of the Supreme Kais got killed on the Kai world, uh, or the Supreme Kai world that he was on when Boo was going on a rampage, because that means that those were the last few of his people. Yes, there's other ones in other universes, but when he killed them, he killed the last few in his universe. So that means that besides the old Kai, he's the only other relative he has in his world. But then again, them dying doesn't really mean much, because Elder Kai gave up his life and he's still around. He just has a halo. So I don't know. It is confusing a little, because he died and he's there, but the other Supreme Kai has died. Besides the fat one, I get that one, why he didn't get resurrected, because, or didn't come back as an angel or whatever, is because he got absorbed by Boo. But the others got just killed by him. So why are they around just like Elder Kai? I don't get that. That's a little confusing. I don't know. Toriyama doesn't think too deeply about his own writing, so I'm not surprised. But yeah, pretty much this means they're going to be all extinct of they all die, and he's the only other guy he has there. And the other ones, there's like a few of them in other universes, which we do get a little bit more explanation on that. And this is where we get the most important part, where a lot of people have been talking about. What happened here was pretty much Um, so they're talking to Supreme Kai still. Bulma's still talking to him about it. She's like, "Oh, that's sad that you guys are gonna be the last of your kind and stuff." He's like, "Yeah," and then he's explaining more, and he mentioned something about the Romulus, Supreme Romulus or something like that. Sorry if I can't pronounce it. It was like RYUM, something like that. Romulus. Some I'm just gonna call them rum because is like the alcoholic drink. I'm just gonna call them rum. So these Supreme Rums basically, they're what sorry if I'm being a little confused because I'm forgetting what happened because I remember because I'm filming this right now on Sunday and this obviously dropped out on Friday, so I'm just trying to remember what he said because this was very important. But he's explaining that yeah, these guys, these Romulus, and we even saw them. He said that these are the strongest gods in the entire universe and that these gods they basically created other universes. So what happened was the first demon king, who's a benevolent ruler, he was a really good guy. He wanted to expand out the demon kingdom and the universe itself. So the universes and realities actually started from the demon realm. The demon realm was the first and only kind of universe or realm there, and then the other subsequent dimensions got created off from it, except or universes, I guess, because I'm pretty sure the afterlife was still there, the demon realm and hell were still there. It just wasn't the living universe. I think the demon realm and this ruler were the reason for the living universe. But he wanted to expand out the universe and everything, and to do it, he wanted to create more universes. So he got to these Aramius gods, and he basically told them, "Hey, can you guys create new universes?" Which is pretty interesting because Shin said that they're the most powerful beings in the universe and they could create universes. But this king from the demon realm apparently had enough authority to make the demand from them. But maybe they just like really respected him and were like, okay, we can do that. I don't know what they were doing before that then. Maybe they're just governing everything else. But then when he told them to do this, they're like, oh, we got a new job, so we can just create universes. So cool. So they started to create universes, and there's multiple of them. We don't know how many. They created multiple universes. As they created those universes, these other Supreme Kais, as they left the demon realm, basically went to go and colonize these other universes. So they went on ships and we saw like the universes being formed. We saw the ships right on the outer edges to leave to go to these other universes to inhabit. And while they were explaining this and then talking about this, he also mentioned that Devorah's father was like him, where he was evil and he kind of was a tyrant. So the way to stop this, he went against the first ruler's plans and he stopped the production of the universes. So whereas the other one was trying to get these other gods to create more universes and expand the kingdom and bring more like understanding, the newer one, which was Deborah's father, he was against it and he wanted to want to control. So he stopped the production of these creations of these universes. So the ones that we have, that's the reason we only have these many, because he wanted only that many. And then while that happened, he also separated the demon realm into three different parts. The first and second worlds, where before it was one, it was just one whole, but then he turned it to three different parts. I wonder if the other universes operate like that, because we know the other, universes in the Dragon Ball macrocosm and stuff, or multiverses, people call it. It's not a multiverse, but I'm just gonna call it multiverse. But in the Dragon Ball multiverse, where they have the other universes, they have their own demon realm. So I wonder if the other demon realms have something similar to this, or they just completely open borders. But he stopped the production. So technically, from what we know, the universes were created from the seventh universe, not the other universes. You would expect the first universe to create all these universes, right? But it was created from seventh. So the first ruler wanted to expand, so he told these most powerful gods in the universe to basically create other universes. And as they were creating other universes, they're expanding out their borders. They were creating other demon realms and all these other macrocosms. And as they were doing, the other supreme gods were leaving to go there, but also they were leaving because their home was being attacked and destroyed, and because Deborah's father came into power. And once when he came into power, he shut down the production and split up the demon realm into three different worlds, right? But it's just one major world that has separate connections, like basically borders and sanctions. So you have that, right? But then this also means quite a bit of stuff. And we do see something interesting. I want to talk about that later too, where there we saw the background. There's the other Supreme Kais, which we have seen it with Gawasu and the other ones from the Tournament of Power, which leads people to say this is canon, this is part of the main timeline, or story. But I disagree with it, and I'll get to why. But yeah, so this is now a little confusing. So it's like, well, are the other demon worlds like this where they have separated in three worlds? Uh, does this also mean that of these gods of the gods of creation, where the hell are they? Also on top of that, that means that did all these other universes and macrocosms stem from universe 7 or the demon realm? So they had like heaven, they had the afterlife, they had all these other places, and they had the demon realm. And then the demon realm created this universe, the living universe, that created the other universes. So not only did this universe 7 demon realm create universe 7's living universe, but it also created all the other universes in the multiverse, quote unquote. So it created that. So that means that the originator for like all these was from the seventh universe, and it was from the first demon king from the seventh universe that did it. So that means that because usually in stories, it's like the first universe is the one creating all the other subsequent universes, but in this one, the seventh one created. So in this lore we got, that means that not only did these gods create it, it was by the demon king of the first one, but that also means that all the universes that come out of here were only created because of the seventh universe, and the seventh universe was created because of the demon king there, himself. So I think that that's pretty interesting. I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, there's a bit of that. But then with them showing the other Supreme Kais, this leads people to believe that this is canon because we saw this in, Dragon Ball Super, so this is connected to Dragon Ball Super. But then there's people saying, well, now this is a retcon because they said it's the most powerful being in the universe, and that would mean that they're more powerful than Zeno. So people argue that about Zeno and then saying, well, isn't Zeno the ruler of all the universes, so shouldn't he be created? So some people say, no, he was never said to be the creator of the universes. That is true. He's the ruler, but it does contradict it a little, make it a little confusing. Yes, he didn't create it, but he still governs over it. But yet he didn't have any hand in creating it, but he governs over them. It is a little weird with that case. But the thing about it, the problem with it, where people saying, "Oh, they're stronger than Xenos," he stated that they're the strongest in the universe. Never he didn't state that they're the strongest in all of creation. Zeno is considered the most powerful being in all of creation, not just in the universe, which is a single one. That's plural, right? So that would mean in the single universe. So what he's saying is, out of all the gods in their universe, they're the strongest in their specific universe, whereas Zeno would be the strongest in all of creation. So it's only specifically their own universe. But there's still a problem with that, and that's still kind of, if you believe it's canon, then it's retcon. This is why I don't think it's a canon, is the fact that this will actually contradict Beerus's power and Whis, because Beerus has been stated to be the most powerful god in the universe countless times, and Whis is supposed to be his, attendant. He's not a god, but he's the most powerful being in there. So even though technically he's not supposed to fight or do anything in there, uh, but yeah, so that is where the confusion comes. So when people are, I don't know why people are going the Zeno direction, where they're saying he stated he's the most powerful, so that means he's more powerful than Zeno. So there's a retcon there, but it's like no, he said in the universe, never in an existence. So Zeno would still be the strongest, but this does contradict Beerus's power and most likely also a little bit of Whis's, but definitely Beerus's power because he is a god, and they said he was the strongest god in the entire universe. But now they're saying no, these Romulus guys are stronger, and some people say, well, Shin didn't know about the supreme, gods of destruction. He's heard of them, he just didn't know the full extension of their power. Also, it doesn't make sense that he knows of these other gods that are really special, but he doesn't know of the gods of destruction. The gods of destruction should have been more known than these guys. So I don't get how that would make any sense. And we need to see more as the episodes progress to understand better. But I'm just betting that this is the direction they're going with. So no, this wouldn't contradict, Zeno's power, but this would contradict Beerus and possibly Whis's power. So that's why I think there's a problem there. So yeah, there's a lot of confusion, and it does draw a problem with Beerus. So I'm not going to talk about Zeno stuff. I know a lot of people are focusing 100% on Zeno. I feel like a lot of people want to discredit Zeno the most for some reason, but this does contradict Beerus's power by him stating that he's stronger than him. Unless you guys want to say, well, yeah, it is canon, but he just didn't know Beerus's power. But then it's like, how does he know about these gods? but it also contradicts what we've been previously stated all the way back in Z, where the Supreme Kais are supposed to be the highest level of authority of deities in the universe. Yet now we have these other guys. So it was before, it was like it was the King Kais, then it was the Grand Kai, then it was the Supreme Kai. And then we got an additional lore saying, well, the gods of destruction, the difference between them is they just destroy and they don't rule over. And then you have the Whis and the angels who are the attendants, right? And that was fine. But now by saying this would put them as a ranking above them or power above them. But that doesn't make any sense, since we've been already told all the way back in Z that, the Supreme Kais are the highest. So how the hell is this happening now? So it's contradicting there. And a lot of people would rather go with this is a retcon more so than this is just not canon. Personally, I still think is not canon. We do have 10 more episodes, so we got to see what's going to happen and what more they explain, especially with them, because I think they're very interesting. I do think we're going to see them and we're going to probably see more of their power. And right now, we do know that they're pretty much universal because they are able to create universes, but we don't know to what extent these guys' powers are. But they are stated to be the most powerful. And like I said, that doesn't mean they're more powerful than Zeno because he's the most powerful in all of creation. But in the universe, that would still make them competing against Beer. So I don't know how that works. And they would have had some mention in Super about them, right? Or some showings. And I know Super came before, but like if it's a part of the continuity or if it's part of the logic, especially if this is supposed to be said in the past, then it has to match up. If it doesn't, then it doesn't make any sense. So no, I don't really take that it doesn't make any sense right there. But it is pretty interesting that we got these new gods that are the most powerful in the universe recreating it. This is like its own lore. I look at Super and this as their own separate lores. And I personally like this lore more than Super's. I like the gods of destruction and stuff like that. But besides that, a lot of the other stuff that they did in Super with lore-wise was kind of dumb. But this one I really like. I like these gods. They kind of reminded me of a little bit of the Guardians of Oa from DC. They're the same guys that created the Green Lantern rings and the other subsequent rings that came from it, but they created them. They kind of look like the Guardians of Oa, and they kind of remind me of that too, where they basically have this big importance within the universe. But theirs is a little bit more insane because they're creating universes, whereas the other guys, they just affect and influence the entire universe as a whole. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. Some people might say, well, this is connected because, and it is canon because we saw the other gods. Yeah, but then if we're going by that, then why wouldn't they stay consistent with the other stuff? Why wouldn't they show Beerus or mention Beerus or Whis or something like that? So it's really confusing. And some people say, well, if they have them there, shouldn't that be canon enough? For me personally, the way I see it, and like I explained in my other videos, that some of the lore that we're gonna get, it's not gonna be 100% canon, but you can put it in the canon and the actual main story, and that would add up. So there's certain things that are gonna be connecting, but that doesn't mean everything. So yes, it makes sense to have the Kais, or Supreme Kais from literally Dragon Ball Super in this instead of recreating new ones because it's easier, right? That doesn't mean directly that it is connected to it. You can have an argument that yeah, it is still canon because it has that. But for me, the way I see it as is, yes, they incorporated these other gods, these other Supreme Kais, but that just means that they're tied to this. But it still can be its own thing. It can still have stuff from the other series without being directly connected with it. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be 100% connected with it to have still stuff. That doesn't mean it has to be completely different and new on its own to be not a part of the canon. It can still have some connections to the original canon while also taking in a different direction and having its own new things. So there's going to be contradictions and stuff. So I don't see it as a retcon. And we need to still wait out for more episodes. And that's one of those things that I really like about Daima. We get explanations and new lore and world building. And I just wish they would do more of this and have more of a legit threat instead of wasting our time with stupid stuff like Goku haven't taking poop, fighting as some weak ass royal guardians. Oh, we need a new ship. We need to get this ship. We're going to travel here. We're going to go stop and get some food. We're going to a hotel. Like, we don't need to see that shit. Give us this stuff. And I just can't wait to see the end of it. I want to see what direction they're going in. I want to see more of Arisu's plan. I think there's a lot of interesting things, but we're wasting our time going through a bunch of crap. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many interesting things they're doing with Daima and we're getting out of it. But then there's so much shit that they're putting in the way that's ruining it. And I just want to get to the important stuff because I want to get to these gods. I have a feeling we're going to get to them at some point. Maybe Goku, when he gets back to his adult form, might want to even fight them. as a challenge to see how good he is. We might be able to see more of their power and what they're capable of. We might get to get explain more of an explanation of their lore. I just find the lore it's interesting, and for me personally, out of everything in Dragon Ball Daima, the thing that I love the most is the lore and the world building. People keep on complaining about this retcon, that retcon. Personally, I just feel that these are interesting new takes and ways to go through it. The only thing I haven't liked from their different take was having the Cybermen being in Majin Buu and their way they're handling Majin Buu's, perfected forms. I just feel like they're dropping the ball on that. But besides that, I've been pretty interested in what they're doing. Though the show is taking its sweet ass time doing a lot of stuff, I think they need to wrap up stuff and speed up a little bit faster. Especially with the second half of these episodes because people are not really liking it, but I do like this stuff. I think if they leaned more into this things, people would be more interested because they're like, I love what direction this world is going into. But right now they're just focusing on stuff that they shouldn't be. So yeah. But there's a lot of theories we can have from the show. That's one of the things I really love is making theories about Dragon Ball or talking about more in depth about the story, the characters, power scaling these, other deities and how this world works. I think that's good and is bringing it back that more because let's be honest, the world of Dragon Ball has been kind of dry recently for quite a while. Like the stuff that we're talking about is nothing really like special, is nothing new. So having this new stuff, we could talk about a lot of new topics now. But I just wish they would go on to that more. So yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this review and stay tuned for next time.